Welcome to our live Pittsburgh Sportsline in the BPTV studios. Thanks for watching us. This is Al Levine, the talking machine. Yes, I got my cut from Marianne at Azazu today. We got that cut. I got Chip Hayner with me, and Smokin' Jim is not here tonight either with some mysterious illness that he won't tell me what it is. So if you could pray for Smokin' Jim Frazier. He sent me a cryptic message like AB does to everybody. Can't walk, steroids aren't working. So whatever that may mean for all you doctors out there, pray for Smokin' Jim that he comes back in good health. This is my haircut before my kidney transplant, which will be done on Friday. Thanks for all the good wishes and prayers that you guys are sending me. I appreciate that. Next week, we're not going to do a show on Tuesday night, so you know. We'll be off next week. So you'll take a break from Pittsburgh Sportsline, and then we'll be back after that. I'll be in the hospital 3 to 6 days, and then 2 weeks of no driving and on pain medicine, and see the doctors 2 times a week for the next 2 months. So we'll see how that goes, and thank you again. Thanks for watching us on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park and all the way from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford, and all points in between. We appreciate that. Thanks for all the likes on Facebook, 6,878 likes. We appreciate you watching our show and liking our page. Thanks again. We've got a lot of sports for you to talk about and listen to, and we'll get that started, but I got some promos to do first. First up, Olive Oil's Pizzeria sponsors this show. Had a new guy named Casey cut the pizza, cut the hoagie, and it was very good. Give them a call, 412-831-1900. They have their 21st anniversary at Olive Oil's Pizzeria. You can buy 3 large pizzas, 1 topping for $21. You can get 3 hoagies for $21. Just mention that special, but that's what they got going on there. Olive Oil's Pizzeria at Hillcrest. Check it out. Next up, we end each show with Stay Joey Strong in honor of Joey Fabus, who died before his 10th birthday with DIPG. It's before he was with DIPG and after DIPG, the brain cancer. You can donate money to the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation, and they happen to have an event coming up on Sunday at the high school, the Superhero Run 5K 1 mile run. People dress up as superheroes, pay a fee, and all the money goes to find a cure for DIPG. The family's done great. They've raised over $100,000, even despite this tragic second death in their family of a child, which is terrible. But you can go out there on Sunday, 9 o'clock in the morning. They do their race. It's great. I will miss it this year because I'll be in the hospital, but they'll be out there for sure. Give them my support and stay Joey strong there. Next up, the Bethel Park Historical Society. Their little flyer blends in with my shirt. Sorry about the yellow on yellow. The Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, 2600 South Park Road. Great facility. They've been remodeling it. They have a $1 million program. There's $600,000 into it, and they do a lot of great things, have events there. They have a new coffee place, Reginald's Coffee. I get my green tea there. It's a great location at the corner there. Check them out, 2600 South Park Road. Next up, Bethel Park Community Foundation has money for you. From $100 to $5,000 for your group or organization in Bethel Park. If you're doing good things and you need some money, get an application at bpcf.org. Come in. I'm one of the trustees on the board. Plead your case, and we gave out over $100,000 last year, so check it out. Next up, Dave Cable likes to have a little fun at my expense. He put my face on Uncle Sam. I want you for BPTV. Call 412-831-3304. Say you want to be a volunteer like Steve and like Zach and all the other guys that come in here. We appreciate you, and you can help on location, in the studio, and everywhere else. But give BPTV a call, 412-831-3304. Next up, we have a sponsor who sponsors What's on Your Mind, Skeets Lewandowski of Skeets Service Station. You go past Mineral Beach, Trax Farm. His service station's red, white, and blue. You can't miss it there. You can give him a call, 724-348-4715. They work on anything and everything that runs on gas. Bring in a lawnmower, weed whacker, boat, truck, car. You name it, lawnmower. They'll work on it for you. They do a nice job, and it's Skeets Service Station in Finleyville. We're going to start out with Chip Hayner. What's on your mind?
Oh, thank you, Alan, and good evening, everybody. Quite an interesting weekend, to say the least.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Yes.
But, my whole thing is I don't want to get, too much into this Antonio Brown thing, but I do
get it out there. It's on your mind.
I do want to talk to you about it because, to be honest with you, I don't care who he plays for. I don't care if he gets hit by a truck. I don't care about Antonio Brown or any of these things. But that leads me to ask some questions, because I do believe that back in 2011 that the NFLPA and the owners reached a collectively
CBA.
A collective bargaining agreement. So they have rules by which they are supposed to operate. And the players are supposed to abide by the rules as well as the owners. And when the owners don't abide by the rules, the union goes to bat for the player, regardless of what the situation or the circumstances are. So, we've got a collective bargaining agreement, and here is a player who's been under contract for 2 teams within the last 6 months, and he got himself released from both of them so that he could dictate to where he went to play. Now, he went to the Oakland Raiders, and without practicing with them, nor ever playing a game, he was able to execute a plan, and I do believe that this was planned, and I do believe that this was deliberate, and I do believe that there are parties that wear red, white, and blue that were involved without coming right out and blatantly accusing somebody.
What team has colors like that?
Yeah. So he ends up going to where he wanted to go originally when he wanted to leave the Steelers. And I am perplexed that the owners have been mysteriously silent over, to what is me, a blatant disregard of what the collective bargaining agreement is supposed to be and how things are supposed to work. I don't, for the life of me, I can't understand how players that are under contract for one team can refuse to play for that team and be allowed to sign a contract with another team. My thoughts are, look, we've got a valid contract that you agreed to with the Oakland Raiders. If you don't want to play for that contract, great. See us in 3 years, okay? And, and the team can either choose to pay you or not pay you. But here's one thing that the Oakland Raiders did. And I was going to take John Gruden, and I will take him to task. Don't worry about that. But the Oakland Raiders had a stipulation in the contract for Antonio Brown is that they did not have to pay him until he actually played in a game for them.
Wow. Good stipulation.
So basically, for a song, I think he got a $1 million signing bonus, which in the world of the NFL, it's a $14 billion industry. What's $1 million? But I am waiting quietly to find out how this is all going to play out. And more importantly, how is this going to affect the collective bargaining agreement that they're trying to come to an agreement on now, because if they do not come up with a new CBA, next year will be the last season of football you see for a while.
Sure.
And I know there's a lot of money involved there, and I think the players are going to dig their heels in, and the owners want what they want. But letting a person get away with what Antonio Brown got away with, this is not. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Antonio Brown or Charlie Brown. You know what I mean? There are a set of rules, and I think rules are supposed to apply to everybody.
Yeah. Well, Chip, the one point that I know is they could suspend him, they could not pay him, but then they could keep him under contract for the remainder of the year or a couple years, but no team has ever done that. And that's part of the CBA, that they could actually keep that player captive with their team.
I don't understand
why. No,
why
they can do it, but nobody's done it.
I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
I think they don't want the time and the hassles of that.
Well, it's you know what, with him.
But that's their right.
But with him as a subject, it'd be less hassle to do that than it would be to have him play for you, because you know what, the drama show is going to be in Foxborough, and
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But personally, I'm going to continue to root for the Steelers, the Pirates, and the Penguins. What other teams do is not much of my concern. But, you know, my esteemed co-host, who happens to be conspicuous by his absence again this week.
Yes.
I'm
a conspiracy guy.
The mystery man, Jim Frazier, talked about how much of a genius John Gruden was. Well, I think we can take that genius tag off of him, because he has now been fleeced twice by the Pittsburgh Steelers. First, they traded Martavis Bryant for him, and I don't know what we get, a couple of
draft pick, yeah,
a couple of bags of balls,
yeah,
and in a couple of whatever else. Well, so that worked out real well for him. And remember when Martavis Bryant went to the Oakland Raiders? What did Mr. Frazier say? He's going to be the Super Bowl MVP, and they went 4-12.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when
Antonio
Brown signed with the Raiders, they are going to the Super Bowl. He's going to be league MVP. And John Gruden is a genius, and he's going to find new and exciting ways to get him the ball. Well, first he would have to be on the team. So he looks pretty foolish, and the Steelers made out like a fat rat, because they got a 3rd and a 5th round pick,
yeah,
which turned into people that will end up being productive players for the Steelers franchise. So it's just a big mess. But you know what? After what we say right here, I'm not going to talk about it ever again, because I don't. Like I said, I don't care anything about Antonio Brown. I don't hate him. I just don't. His drama class can go somewhere else. It's a class
sure.
I don't.
Whether it was a con act or he truly is that dumb, who knows and who cares?
Yeah, hey, and
we're done with him.
And it doesn't matter how much money they end up paying him, because I'm telling you, within 5 years he'll be broke.
Yeah.
Because at some point, if all you do is spend and spend and spend, one day
catches up to you.
Your career's going to be over, and you've pretty much ruined any kind of endorsement ability you have. Maybe you make more money off of Facebook and Instagram or whatever, but who cares? I don't. But you want to know what's on my mind? That's what's on my mind.
Thank you, Chip. I appreciate it. It was on my mind slightly too, but I don't care. What's on my mind is the Steeler game that I watched. Chip, I had to pull an early return and not watch the whole game, because after 3 quarters, I told my son, this is one of the worst football games I've ever watched. The coaches get an F, the players get an F. They were unprepared, didn't play well, and the better team won. That's how simple it was to me. And, they could talk about whatever they want, whatever improvements they made. I saw nada.
Well, I made the executive decision to turn the game on, turn the volume down, and both myself and my wife were asleep before the opening kickoff. I honestly did not see a single play of that debacle. It
was just shocking. The running game, the passing game. this Moncrief got 10 throws to him, and he dropped 7 of them. It was just unbelievable how he was dropping the ball.
I think they said they targeted him 10 times. He had 3 catches for 7 yards. He dropped 3 or 4 passes.
It looked like all 7, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Anytime the ball was there, it hit him in the hands. The worst place you can hit a guy is in his hands. And he dropped it. It was like unbelievable that was happening.
Unless what was it, like Roberto Duran, hands of stone.
Yeah. Hey, that's what he showed. We've had some guys like that on the defense, but on the offense, I mean, he had some good games in his career, but not on Sunday Night Football. It was a debacle from the beginning. I can't believe how unprepared the team was to play. There was no vim and vigor. They weren't fired up. They were sort of lackadaisical, just going through the motions. And it just was that way the whole game. And the shocking part is when they were down about the 1 yard line and they had a 4th down, they kicked the field goal, so at least we scored because they weren't confident enough that they could score. So that in itself is shocking, and just the way the whole game went. You know I bleed black and gold, but it was leaking all over the place, and it was just a nightmare watching the game, and I couldn't make it to the end of the game. I just said 3 quarters, I'm done. And I had enough, and I do believe they will play better against other teams, but the Patriots are such a well-coached, well-positioned playing team that it's unreal. Brady looks even younger than his 42 years old. He's thin. He's throwing a ball like a laser to guys. It's just unreal with what he was doing to us. Picked us apart like we didn't even have a defense. It was sad.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been listening for the last 2 days, and
they're going crazy on the fan and all this other stuff.
When we get to our next segments, I will shed a different light on this game that was played Sunday night, and that's my little tease.
Nice,
nice little tease there.
We'll be back with some trivia from Chip Hainer. Stay tuned.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. And, they give me this little trivia segment. I always try to find something interesting and off the beaten path.
You do it.
And what better foil than the Pittsburgh Steelers? And, apparently that was one of the worst losses in recent Steeler memory, I would have to say. But, I mean, I look at it this way. Okay, so we lost by 30 points. Well, you know what? The team that everybody picked to win the division, including my dear friend Jim Frazier, who's conspicuous by his absence. I keep bringing that up, but I don't know why. But anyhow,
he's avoiding
the Cleveland Browns.
Chip, he's avoiding you.
The Cleveland Browns got smoked in their home opener.
I watched that home opener, and I'm watching the first half, and I'm thinking, what are they talking about? The Browns are so good. They didn't look that good, and even it was a close game the first half.
And then
the second half, they got blown out.
They got steamrolled.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield showed you what kind of, let's call him Vinny Testaverde II.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the kind of play you're going to see. I kind of gathered that this is the kind of quarterback that Baker Mayfield was going to be simply by watching the way he choked. And
last year.
In Week 17 last year against Baltimore when he had a chance to get his team.
Yeah.
But, so we're going to talk about, I decided, let's think. This is a pretty bad Steeler loss.
Just don't bring up that 51-0 game.
Okay.
And 89. And 89.
No, and that's the first. Okay, so what I'm going to do.
I watched that whole game. One of the worst ever.
Okay, so here's what I typed into a search engine. Worst moments in Pittsburgh Steelers history. Okay, so we got 5 of them, and I'll give a quick rundown. Won't take up too much time, but I will take up a little. Number 5 happened in the 1989 season opener.
Yeah.
The Steelers lost to the Cleveland Browns in 1989, 51-0. The 80s are pretty much the only decade the Steelers weren't consistently excellent, and no loss encapsulated that more than the season opener in 1989. Facing the rival Browns at Three River Stadium, Cleveland scored 3 defensive touchdowns and beat Pittsburgh 51-0. Still the worst loss in franchise history. Legendary coach Chuck Noll called the loss the worst I've ever seen as a coach, and it says something that it ultimately didn't define the season.
No.
Pittsburgh went 9-7, including a win over that same Browns team 5 weeks later, and finished second in the division before winning a playoff game, then being knocked out by the eventual AFC champion Broncos. What can you say? It's hard to find low points for this franchise, but a 51-point loss certainly qualifies. And just to give you an idea, we started out that season 0-2.
Yeah.
We lost
the
first 2 games we lost by a combined score of 92-10.
Yeah.
Okay? So the next week the Steelers got drubbed by the Cincinnati Bengals. Lo and behold, this same Pittsburgh Steelers team made it to the playoffs and won the first wild card game against the Houston Oilers. And the star running back from that game would have been none other than Merrill Hodge.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that.
When you're feeling everything is down and it is all hopeless, there's no way that the Steelers will ever win another game, the sun will rise tomorrow. So there's that. Number 4 on the worst moments in Steelers history. This one goes all the way back to 1998. And the reason why I remember this one so well, I had my last knee surgery 2 days before Thanksgiving in 1998.
Okay.
So on Thanksgiving Day in 1998, I was on the couch with pillows piled under my leg, rehabbing my knee after surgery. The Phil Luckett coin toss gaffe.
Oh.
The infamous incident wasn't even the Steelers' fault, but it makes the list nonetheless. A Thanksgiving Day matchup with Detroit in 1998 went to overtime, and running back Jerome Bettis clearly called tails during the initial coin toss to determine possession. For whatever reason, referee Phil Luckett said he heard heads on 2 separate occasions before even picking up the coin, showing tails, which produced a shocked reaction from Bettis and co-captain Carnell Lake. CBS broadcasters Greg Gumbel and Phil Simms even registered their surprise over the airwaves. The Lions made quick work of overtime, taking 7 plays to get into field goal range for a game-winning 42-yard Jason Hanson kick. The loss spiraled Pittsburgh into a 5-game losing streak to finish 7-9 and miss the playoffs. It started with an egregious miss by a referee. Next up, Mike Tomlin's got one of the top 5. Mike Tomlin tries to trip Jacoby Jones. And again, on Thanksgiving Day. Was that not correct? Yes, it was, 2013. Yeah. The Steelers-Ravens rivalry has been intense and bitter, and arguably the best in the NFL in the 21st century. One of its most infamous moments came on Thanksgiving 2013. In a primetime battle in Baltimore, Jacoby Jones was well on his way to housing a potentially game-clinching kickoff return before the Steelers' defensive back Cortez Allen caught him from behind. Thing is, he had help. In a complete broach of sideline decor, if you will, Pittsburgh head coach Mike Tomlin actually had 1 foot on the field at the Steelers' 38-yard line, which forced Jones back inside and allowed him to be caught by Allen. Jones immediately pointed back towards Tomlin after being tackled, and Tomlin was glimpsed on the television not long after with a wry smile on his face. The league fined Tomlin $100,000 for the transgression, and while the incident ultimately didn't change much, the Ravens still won the game, and the Steelers had already dug themselves too big of a hole to make the playoffs by starting 0-4. It's not a good look for a franchise that prides itself on doing things the right way. Wow. And I guess this next one, I could say, it actually involves the same team. They just were playing in a different city at the time. And this one goes back to the mid-'70s. Joe Turkey Jones takes out Terry Bradshaw.
Whoa.
And I know Alan was watching this game back then. And
I remember
I
it
was
clearly.
watching this game back then. And when this play happened, I thought Bradshaw was dead.
Me too.
I mean, I never saw anybody's all four extremities go limp at the same time like that.
He looked like he was dead.
Yeah. One of the ugliest incidents of on-field violence in NFL history took place on October 10th, 1976, and the victim was Pittsburgh. Hall of Fame quarterback Terry Bradshaw was wrapped up by Browns defensive end Joe Turkey Jones, but as whistles blew with the play's outcome determined, Jones went further, body slamming Bradshaw straight on his head. Bradshaw's body went disturbingly limp. Flags went flying. Cleveland was punished first with a 15-yard penalty, then a $3,000 fine for Jones. The damage to Pittsburgh's season was more severe. Bradshaw returned 3 weeks later but wasn't the same, completing the fourth lowest percentage of passes in his career. The Steelers leaned on the legendary Steel Curtain defense in the running game to reach the AFC title game, and linebacker Jack Lambert has called the 1976 edition of the best Steelers team of the decade. This one didn't end with a title, and one of the dirtiest plays you'll ever see contributed to that. And I do believe the 3 games that Bradshaw missed, the Steelers defense pitched shutouts.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, so Allen and I could have quarterbacked that team to victory.
Anybody. It didn't matter who you were.
The Steelers were pissed.
Yeah.
And
they took it out on everybody.
And last but not least, the first loss in Super Bowl play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Super Bowl XXX.
Whoa.
And I don't refer to it as Super Bowl 30. I refer to it as Super Bowl XXX because it was one of the most obscene things I've ever seen, and I hope never to witness something like that again. Pittsburgh's 1990s resurgence under head coach Bill Cowher culminated with a trip to Super Bowl XXX, where the hated Cowboys awaited. The Steelers had never lost the big game and had beaten Dallas twice as part of their previous titles. By Super Bowl XXX, the Cowboys had won 4 of their own and went on to break a tie by winning the game on the back of Larry Brown, or maybe even accurately, the mistakes of Neil O'Donnell. 2 interceptions in the second half had huge ramifications in their own way, starting in the middle of the third quarter with Pittsburgh trailing just 13-7, and Dallas blitzing on third and long. O'Donnell floated an aimless ball into the flat that fell perfectly into Brown's waiting arms. His return helped set up an Emmitt Smith touchdown, pushing the lead back to double digits. But the real heartbreak came late in the fourth quarter after the Steelers had cut the lead to 20-17 and had gotten the ball back with 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining.
I remember like it was yesterday.
And what could be construed as a photocopy of the first interception, O'Donnell fired down the right sideline, anticipating wide receiver Andre Hastings to be there. Hastings ran a hitch route, however, and the only person in the area to catch the pass was Brown. His return to the Pittsburgh 6-yard line led to another Smith touchdown and effectively ended the comeback bid. It was a rough night on the biggest stage for the Steelers, and that's almost totally fair. So Neil O'Donnell took those 2 big interceptions, and he turned those into a $25 million free agent contract that he signed with the New York Jets, but his career was pretty much, for all rights and purposes, over and done with. His best years were here in Pittsburgh. So, as bad as Sunday's loss was, as I said, the sun will rise again tomorrow, and the Steelers will go to practice. And I do believe that the Steelers will give themselves a good accounting this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seattle Seahawks won by luck on Sunday, playing at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals, people are picking them to win 4, maybe 5 games this year, and
they got one in.
Well, they almost pulled it off.
Yeah. And
Seattle really had to pull that game out. So I think you're going to see a better Steelers team. I think you're going to see a lot more attention to details. And I will pick the Steelers to beat the Seahawks this weekend at home.
I got to second that emotion right there. I think the Steelers can come back. They do have some quality players. They have to look like they want to play football, though. So hopefully they can get that inspiration.
Now, we need to see some of that leadership. And Ben Roth, everybody's talking about
He's not
his
a leader.
leadership.
He's not a leader.
Alan, I know this.
I know. Come on.
I mean, there's a little
easy now.
But I mean, he's got to be the example. And apparently, he was one of the ones that wasn't prepared to play on Sunday night. And that's inexcusable. That's, the last thing I want to say about this before I go. Where everybody talks about the preseason and, there's too many games, they mean nothing, none of the regulars play. Well, I like to refer to the first game of the regular season as the 5th week of the preseason because you see mistakes being made in the first week of the season that wouldn't be made if your players played in the preseason and got their timing
How
down.
about the rust on the players because they haven't made those plays until now?
And here's the true thing about football.
It's shocking. I had a conversation today with somebody, and I said what I would like to see is 3 series for the starters of each football game in the preseason.
Well,
because then they could play against the best on the other team and then get them off the field.
Well, and here's the thing, and anybody that's played football knows that, football is a violent game. It's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like basically human beings that play, if you have 60 offensive plays, the offensive linemen are involved in 60 car wrecks.
Yeah.
And the way to minimize injuries in professional football is you have to condition your body to be hit, okay? It's still going to hurt, but, I mean, once you get used to doing
there's
it.
a difference being in football shape.
Yes.
Means you got to play.
But isn't it amazing? You look at the injury lists on these teams.
Still big.
After first week.
Yeah.
And here you got Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Who won't play this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. A big free agent signing.
Yeah.
They say they paid him a lot of money. And
no play.
And now they're going to have to rely on what's his name? Josh Dobbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Steelers traded him to Jacksonville. He'll be starting before you know it.
Yeah. Definitely. No, it'll happen. Thanks, Chip. On location, just signed a deal the other day. We're going to be back at the Millville VFW 118 at 605 North Avenue on September 30th. I should be well enough that we'll do a show out there September 30th in Millville. We had a great time there a month or so ago, 2 months ago, and they want us back. They had to cancel a show, but now they're okay to do it. So we'll be back out there. We'll get more details as they come along. And then on the 21st, we're supposed to go to Monsville Penitentiary and film MMA and boxing. So if I'm up to that, we will do that one. If not, we'll just have to skip it. I got to find out what's happening with Smoking Jim Frazier since he's supposed to drive me because I won't be able to drive at that point in time. So we're a little bit up in the air on that September 21st event at the haunted Monsville Penitentiary. It's a cool place. It was a prison, and now they do fights in there and run electric and stuff. And they've even done shows on a couple of the Discovery Channel and showing haunted places, which that is one. So very interesting. We'll be back at Olive Oil's Pizzeria October 14th, 7:30 to 8:30. I got boxers lined up and a couple other guests, so we got a great show coming then. Great Italian food. The Italian ice was wonderful at Olive Oil's. Watermelon's my favorite, and it was delicious. Had it last night, and we were there, had 4 great guests, carried on good night of conversation and sports. You have to check it out when it's up tomorrow night. It'll be up there tomorrow night, 7 o'clock to 8. That'll be Olive Oil's Pizzeria from last night, Monday night, at the Olive Oil's 930 Brookline Boulevard. And we'll be back there October 14th, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully Smokin' Jim will be back on the show and showing up too. So that's all I have for you on location at this time, but stay tuned for new ones that may be popping up. We will see what happens. And we'll be back with some Bucko Talk tonight.
We're in the Stanley Cup final for the second year in a row, and here's Yager with the puck. Yager, nice move around right center to the backhand. Lets it go, he scores!
Welcome back. Some Bucko Talks. The Buccos lost 81 games. Last night I was expecting to hear they're going to have a losing season. I woke up this morning, 6-4. The comeback kids won a game.
You went in
I was shocked. I didn't even watch the game. I went to bed. That was it.
And who were the spark plugs for the ninth inning comeback?
Lay it out there.
Kevin Newman, Brian Reynolds.
What a year they both had.
Both are having. Brian Reynolds is batting .330, in contention for the
NL championship.
The National Batting Championship. Kevin Newman's batting .312.
Wow.
He's doing a great job in the leadoff spot. And, I mean, there's a lot to be excited about with the Pirates. Sure. If you want to look at the glass as half empty, yeah, the pitching staff has been a shambles most of the year.
Yeah.
No other way. No other way.
Well,
to
injuries tore it apart.
And the injuries tore them apart, and obviously there's going to be changes made. Unfortunately, I believe that Ray Searage is going to be
He'll be the scapegoat.
He'll be the scapegoat.
Yeah, because they're not getting rid of Hurdle.
No.
And Huntington's still there.
And here's the thing. This started with the way the pitchers were handled from the time they got to spring training. They went into the season. They weren't ready to start pitching in games.
Yeah.
And subsequently, I mean, look how many people were injured early in the year. Jameson Taillon, we lost him for a year. And they monkeyed around with his injury. Well, we're going to try this. We're going to try that. We're going to try the other thing. And subsequently, now we lose him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is tonight, an old friend of the Pittsburgh Pirates is pitching against us.
Whoa.
He pitched against us on October the 3rd, 2013. Johnny Cueto. He
Tommy
pitched for
John surgery.
He had Tommy John surgery. Tonight is his first game back.
13 months he's been off.
Yeah. Well, and you know why? Because he injured his arm in July of last year. They did the surgery then. Here it is September. He's able to pitch, and he should be ready to go first thing. Now, here's the thing about Johnny Cueto. Yes, one of the greatest moments in Pirates' recent history.
Yes.
The wild card play-in game, the Cueto game. I was there. It was one of the most incredible sporting events that I had ever witnessed personally in my life. The energy that was there that night was. But in regular season, Johnny Cueto's record against the Pittsburgh Pirates, 20 wins and 4 losses.
Wow.
This is a person that has absolutely dominated.
Crushed us. Yeah.
Dominated the Pittsburgh Pirates. So. Is that the Johnny Cueto we're going to see tonight? Well, I hope Brian Reynolds, Kevin Newman, Josh Bell
make a difference.
Put a little bit of lumber to the ball, and we'll see what happens. The unfortunate part is game doesn't first pitch isn't until after 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Which is well into my evening slumber.
You'll be unconscious.
Yeah, I'll check my phone when I get up because I get updates on various things. Was real happy to see the late comeback by the Pirates last night. This is a team that hasn't quit. There's reasons. Well, basically, people are playing right now for their jobs next year.
Well, they've had every reason to quit with what's happened to them, but they've shown the character and the fortitude, which I'm impressed by young guys continuing to play and not give up.
And that's
it means a lot to me.
And that's the reason why I think Clint Hurdle will stay as manager for next year. I know all you cynics out there are going to say, bottom line, Bob will never pay a manager to not manage.
Yeah.
And I think that he'll stay as manager because he hasn't lost his team.
No.
They have not quit. They have not quit on him. And
if they did, then show us that they did, and they can't.
well, I mean,
Right?
they've invented new ways to lose, but you also take into account this isn't the team that that won 98 games 4 years ago.
No. Not even close.
Basically, we've got a young team, but some of the things and some moves have been made. They fired a couple of minor league managers. One of the managers they fired was the Double-A manager in Altoona, who was completely shocked. But apparently, what you got to do is they're not being taught basic baseball instincts
Whoa.
in the minors.
Really?
So I mean, you coming up into the major leagues is not the place you learn where to hit the cutoff man, when to throw to a base.
Good point.
I mean, these are mistakes that have happened over and over and over again with these young players, and these are basic skills. Geez, a lot of this stuff I learned in Little League.
That's
yes,
what I was saying.
I learned it. I learned in Little League.
Hit the cutoff man.
Hit the cutoff man. If you've got to play at a base.
If you're in the infield, go out to be the cutoff man.
When before the ball is hit to you, and you look at the situation, how many outs are there, runners on base. You know that when the ball comes to you, if it comes to you, where you're supposed to throw it.
Yeah, don't throw it to first base.
You don't wait to decide where you're going to throw the ball until you see people running, because by then it's too late.
Yeah.
Because when you're young like that, you don't have the arms that these guys have. And the guys rely too much on their arms. And
they got cannons, some of them.
And I believe that we're going to see a much better product next year. What are they going to do with the pitching staff? We can sit here and talk until we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But until they do something, we have no idea what they're going to do. And if anybody seems to think that they're going to share with us what they're going to do, they're foolish. Yeah. Because this is a poker game, and all 30 teams, they're playing their cards close to the vest. They don't want to let anybody. They're not going to show anybody their hand. Because that's how they get taken advantage of. So. Yeah. Got a few more weeks left of the season. We're 63 and 81. So I think we pretty much guaranteed that there will not be a 100-loss season this year.
Yeah.
And, hey, we get on a little streak here. What was Jim's under number?
78.
78. Wouldn't it be great if we won 79 games this year?
I appreciate you saying it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
Because they only have like 18 to go. So
yeah, well, crazier things have happened. I remember a Clint Hurdle team once that won 22 games in a row.
Yeah.
And went to the World Series that year. So, crazier things have happened. But
not necessary this year. But
no,
you can be hopeful.
Well, no, we don't. We don't have the starting pitching tonight. Mitch Keller's gonna pitch again.
Yeah.
He got yanked from his last start after a ball was lined off his right wrist.
No, it looked dangerous.
And the interesting thing about that was, fortunately, X-rays, no breaks. The next day he was playing catch.
What a lucky thing, seriously.
Well, with the way things have gone for him this year, it's probably one of the few lucky things that happened to him this year.
Yeah.
Josh Bell's still on pace to hit about 120 RBIs.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him hit the 40 home run mark.
That'd be great.
Be the third Pirate, So, me, I look for the positives. I don't dwell on negatives, but
put it like this: we know they got a losing team. That's as simple as that.
Hey.
You can watch some good baseball in spite of that.
Well, here's something else interesting. Okay, Major League Baseball's been around 150 years.
Yeah.
Look down the list of teams, and if you just do it for yourself, Google it. How many World Championships have teams won? The Pirates have been around for 133 years. They've won 5 World Championships. Do the math. This, they go through periods of time.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit this, that, at one point, the owners could spend whatever they wanted to spend, and there was no limitations. But now, there is not a level playing field in Major League Baseball.
Not at all.
And, in the NFL, you have parity. And once Tom Brady retires, parity will come back to the NFL.
It'll revert back to the norm.
It'll revert back to the norm. But, the NFL has true revenue sharing. They have a television contract that's league-wide.
Yeah.
Money gets divided up evenly. Major League Baseball, every team is able to negotiate their own television contracts, and based on their market size, teams get more money. I mean, you look at the teams.
I hate to
like
see what the Pirates are going to negotiate now.
Well, the Pirates are in the process of negotiating with AT&T Sportsnet.
Right.
Their contract is up for renewal after the end of this year. And believe it or not, that the Pirates' television ratings are I think, within the top 10 in the league.
No way.
In
Wow.
percentage of people.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see what kind of a contract that they can negotiate. Now, of course, everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, Bob Nutting's just going to take the bottom line. Bob's just going to stick the money in his pocket.
Right.
And that's just a narrative that it's like beating a dead horse. They just keep on beating this and beating this drum and beating this drum, and you keep on hearing the same sound. And you know what? It's nauseating.
Bottom line, Bob, I don't care what you call, he's a businessman. It's his money that's in the team, and if he makes a profit, God bless him there.
So we had the Pirates, who almost went bankrupt and moved out of town in the early 80s.
Yeah.
They brought in new ownership. They brought in Jim Leland, rejuvenated the team.
Right.
They won 3 division titles. Then they were hemorrhaging money again, and they couldn't afford their players,
broke up
Barry
the team,
Bonds and
yeah.
Bobby Bonilla. And that ownership group almost bankrupted the team, threatened to move the team out. Here comes Kevin McClatchy. Kevin McClatchy buys the team and does the same thing as the last few. He spends money and spends money and spends money, and he doesn't keep any eye on, we get this many dollars in, we can't spend more than we have coming in.
Right.
Well, you can criticize Bob Nutting, but in the last 10 or 11 years, never once have we heard about the team being bankrupt. We haven't seen anybody traded because they can't make payroll.
Yeah.
And we haven't had any threats of the team moving. So, as much as you want to criticize and chastise him, he's been the best thing that's happened to the Pirates in probably the last quarter century.
Sure.
And, and so, all right, we don't win every year. But you want to know something? There's a lot of other teams that don't win every year either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other teams that spend a lot more money than the Pirates are spending, and they don't win either. So
look at the Red Sox this year.
Spending a lot of money doesn't necessarily the solution. Now, the Red Sox, you've got a different set of expectations there because of the amount of money they bring in and the amount of money they spend.
They just won a World Series.
They won the World Series. They're 9 games over 500. And they fired their general manager.
Yeah.
Okay? The same general manager that built the team that won 108 games in the regular season last year and won the World Series. Probably,
I don't understand the logic.
Here's what it boils down to. He didn't play well with others.
Yeah.
And you know what?
They'll get you.
They'll get you.
They get you.
They'll get you, and they'll find somebody to replace him.
But when you just talk about it, here's a guy holding the World Series trophy, did all this to build the team up, now he's gone.
Well, here's another thing. Dave Dombrowski, who was the general manager, he took an expansion team, the Florida Marlins, and and he was the general manager of that team, and within 5 years won a world championship with them. Jim Leland's only world championship.
Right.
Then he moved to Detroit, where he resurrected the Detroit Tigers franchise, sent them to, I think they won 5 division titles, 2 American League pennants.
Yeah.
Okay. Brought in some quality talent, left there, then went to the Red Sox, built another championship team. So here's a guy that got fired today. He'll probably be hired by the end of the end of the week.
Yeah.
I mean, but there is one thing about him. He's not a pleasant person to work with. He got
an eye for talent. Though.
He's got an eye for talent. He knows how he knows how to build a winner. So, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the Red Sox have a team that is stacked.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
And all their players are young.
Yeah.
On a different note, speaking of the Red Sox, saw a video on YouTube.
Okay.
Big Papi
Yeah.
threw that first pitch, and he was shot in June
Yeah.
in the Dominican, and shot by a case of mistaken identity, but he almost died.
Yeah.
And I remember that very well because I was in Maine at the time, and I was in the heart of Red Sox Nation.
Sure.
And it was a big deal back then. And
Yeah.
to see
Well, he's
him,
a legend in that area.
and to see him, a lot of their sports heroes have been known to cheat. Like he was involved in the steroids scandal, and then you got Julian Edelman, the MVP from the Super Bowl, and he got suspended for 4 games for PED.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
And you got Bill Belichick, who's been
Throwing out the videos.
Well, yeah. Well, no, he got fined once for cheating. Was involved again twice. The Patriots have been implicated in cheating scandals while he was running the ship. They don't care because the only thing they care about is wins. We want a title. We don't care if we cheated to get it. But be that as it may,
You got to live with it, and you move on from that. You were teasing us with the Steelers. What's your tease with the Steelers, or you say they're going to win, or?
Well, no. I definitely think no. My tease was the worst losses.
Oh, okay.
The worst losses in Steelers history, because I just wanted to make the point. The thing that I find most amusing and kind of tiresome as well. And I listen to talk radio in the day. I'm in a truck, most of the day, and every single game, with baseball, it's 162 games. And after each and every game, whether it be win, lose, we have to blame somebody.
Yeah.
Okay? It has to be somebody's fault. We have to fire that person. We have to,
Yeah, get rid of them.
I find it amusing. You got Mike Tomlin, who's right now is the 3rd winningest coach in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Get
Rid of them.
Get rid of him. I'm going to tell you what. If you were to ask him, it wouldn't take more than 10 seconds. There are teams in the NFL that playoff teams from last year that will fire their current coach to hire Mike Tomlin.
Oh, I believe it.
I guarantee it. So
no, there's no doubt about it.
If you don't like him, okay, then you don't like him. Whatever the reasons may be.
We're spoiled here for the last 2 generations with winners. Mm-hmm. That's part of the problem. If we're not winning, we're not going anywhere. So that's what people feel.
Yeah, well, it's the age of entitlement. People think that because I root for this team, that they owe me something.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing they owe is they field a professional team. The Steelers fielded a professional football team Sunday night that laid a gigantic egg.
Yeah, they didn't show up.
So they're still a professional football team.
Yeah, they still have talented players.
Oh, yeah, and then the Pittsburgh Pirates have a lot of talented players. Things didn't fall right for them this year. Not going to make excuses with injuries or whatever. For whatever reasons, It didn't work out. I think they'll figure it out. I think next year, a lot of people will be surprised.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. I do watch the games. I listen to them or watch them. Haven't been to a game this year, didn't make it, but that happens. I want to thank everybody for watching our show. Thanks to Chip Hayner for showing up. He's not Mr. Invisible now.
I'm not the invisible man.
He's here. He's here. And I'm going to go have a successful kidney transplant on Friday. So thanks for all those good wishes and prayers. And I'll be back in a couple weeks on air. So stay tuned for that. And go to the Joey Fabus Walk and Run on Sunday. Check that out, 9 o'clock in the morning, Bethel Park High School. Be there. Enjoy it. And in honor of Joey, stay Joey strong.